everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting. Today we are doing our top 50 comics in my collection video. Alex the Comic Hoarder restarted this hashtag a month or plus ago, probably at this point. Originally I wasn't going to do it because I had done one of these back in April of 2020. I'll actually leave the link to that video down below. And I didn't think my collection had really changed that much, but I kept watching people doing it, and I was like, all right, let me see. And I actually have 16 books that made the list, or did not make the list last year, that made the list because I've added them to my collection. Was super surprised there was that many that actually jumped into this top 50. So we're going to go on and do it. Little caveats about how I put the list together before we get started. I did not rank these from 50 to 1. I actually kind of grouped them based on what I called the 4 pillars of my collection. I also did a video on that, I want to say like November-ish, where I talk about the 4 things I collect and that I focus on, and they are Batman and Bat Family books, Spider-Man, Spider-Verse books, Star Wars books, and female characters' first appearances and keys, like some of the female characters I enjoy. They tend to be a little undervalued. That's one of the reasons I've targeted those. So those are kind of where I collect. So that's how I'm going to go through this. Now, in terms of determining what made the list, I included AOK books, but I took the AOK factor out of whether or not the book made the list. I really focus on the value of the book plus the personal value in terms of meaning of the character and or the book to me, and really try to just do that without factoring in the AOK portion of that, because otherwise the book would have just been dominated by AOK books, or the list would have been dominated by AOK books. So, I also discounted any books that I have bought based on with the plans to sell in the near future. So it's got to be something that I plan on keeping in my collection at least for semi-long term. So these are books I really wanted, because there's a couple of books that like I have currently that would probably rank as a top 50 book, but I bought them for the specific reason to sell, to try to fund other books. So they'd be toward the bottom of that 50, but they would probably make it. So, but I just threw those books out completely. If it's a book I plan on selling, it didn't make this list. So with all those caveats, let's get into the books. So this video is not super long. We're going to start with the Star Wars books, because I only have 4. That's something I've only recently decided I wanted to collect, which is really bad timing, given what Star Wars books have done. And 3 of them are currently in CGC, so we're just going to show pictures. First up, we have Star Wars Heir to the Empire #1, first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn and Mara Jade. I love these novels when I was a kid. Looking forward to seeing him make his first appearance in Star Wars live action. Glad that they brought him into canon. Wish they brought Mara Jade into canon, but oh well. So this book currently at CGC will be added to my collection. I'm excited about that. Next, we have Darth Vader #3, the first appearance of Dr. Aphra. Now, I've had several copies of this. I've sold some copies of this, but I currently have, I think, 3 copies at CGC. One of those is going to be my copy, so this one made the list. Next, we have Kanan #1, the cameo of all this crew, plus first appearance of Kanan. All these Rebels characters. Super excited to have this. I've actually sold a 9.8 copy of this previously. I have 2 of these, I think, at CGC right now. But one of those I plan on keeping. And then finally, I actually do have a Star Wars book in my possession that made the list, and that is Kanan the Last Padawan, #6. First full appearance of Sabine and Ezra. So that is my one Star Wars book that I actually have with me currently. I think those are the only 3 books that are gone that made the list. So everything else you guys will see in person. So next, we're going to move on to kind of the female characters. Although I have one book that sort of fits into that category, sort of doesn't. And that is my only Golden Age Archie book. But it's a Sweet Betty cover, which is why I bought it. Big Betty and Veronica fan. I love these old school Archies. This is Archie 56. We're going to move fully into the female first, and we're going to, well, not first necessarily, but female characters, and this is Zatanna 15. My favorite of the Zatanna covers, more so than 16, but both are gorgeous, awesome covers. Next, we have all new Wolverine #2. First appearance of Honey Badger, who I think is now being called Scout. Like the Honey Badger name better, Gabby. Big fan of this character, big fan of this run. Had to include this book. Next, we have Thor #1, the first appearance of Jane Foster as Thor. Love this Jason Aaron run. Love this whole storyline with Jane. Super looking forward to the movie coming. So yeah, so that also made my list. Next, we have a book that would be toward the top probably if it was, if these were ranked. And this is Journey into Mystery, #84. First appearance of Jane Foster. This is a super low grade copy. I do need to get into a slab just to help protect it. But yeah, super low grade, which is why I could afford to grab it, but super happy to have this in my collection. All right, next we're going to move on to another character that we have several books of, and that is Miss Marvel herself, or Captain Marvel currently, Carol Danvers. We have Avenging Spider-Man #9 and a 9.6. Just an awesome book. Love this book. Really enjoyed this particular, not this, but the Captain Marvel run that she started with, that Kelly Sue DeConnick wrote. We got X-Men 164, the first appearance of Carol Danvers as Binary. Another just awesome book, and one of the few X-Men keys that I actually kind of own. Next, we have Miss Marvel #1, an awesome AOK from TJ the Slab Dragon Watson. So her first solo series, great book. And then finally, our last Carol Danvers related book on the list, another one that would probably be in my top 10 if we were going that route, and that is Captain Marvel #13, Marvel Superheroes #13, second appearance of Marvel, Captain Marvel, but first appearance of Carol Danvers. Just an awesome book that I am happy to have in my collection, and another one that needs to make that little trip to CGC at some point. So with that, we're sort of going to move into the two main areas that I have collected, which is Spider-Man and Batman related stuff, and their associated characters and families. So let's start with Spider-Man. We'll start with some generic Spider-Man slabs, I guess, some that aren't necessarily associated with a specific Spider-Man character. We have Spider-Man #36 from Volume 2, the 9/11 issue. This is one I bought off the shelf. Was super happy that it came back in 96, given the cover and everything else. So just a gorgeous book, a book with a lot of meaning. So happy to have that. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man and #361, first appearance of Carnage, and signed by Mark Bagley. Really happy to have this book. Was hoping for a 9.6. Was glad that I got it. So very grateful that that worked out. Next, we're going to move into some of our female Spider characters. First up, we have Spider-Woman #1, the first solo title for Jessica Drew as Spider-Woman. This is actually technically a birthday book, so super excited about that. Awesome to have that in the thing. Another AOK from TJ the Slab Dragon Watson. Thank you, TJ. Then we're going to move into a little bit of Silk. We have Silk #1 from her first solo title in a 9.8. Just a really good book. Interesting character that I really enjoy. So glad to have this as part of the collection. I also have a variant of this that I have not got slabbed. I just love this cover. It's one of my favorite covers in my entire collection. And just a good book related to Silk. And then our final Silk related book is ASM #4. Her first appearance as Silk. So yeah, just a great addition, and to have all three of these Silk books in my collection. Okay, next up we have Spider-Man 194, Amazing Spider-Man 194, first appearance of Black Cat. Another awesome Spider-Man character that I'm super happy to have her first appearance. I'm glad I grabbed it when I did, because this book has jumped a ton, like several of the books that I have in this stack. Thankful to have gotten it when I did. Next, I have several books related to Mary Jane. First up, we have Amazing Spider-Man 601, the J. Scott Campbell variant. This book has been somewhat controversial lately, but a cover I love, and just a great MJ book. Glad I have it in my collection. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 25, her cameo appearance. This is the one where she's hidden by the flower, but she's in the book talking to Aunt May and Liz and Betty Brant, I believe, all talk to her. We don't get to see her yet, but she is in this book. Next, we have her first cover appearance, an AOK from Los, ASM 59. Don't know if I'm going to send this one in or if I'm going to try to upgrade, but just an awesome book. Love this cover and super glad to have it in my collection. Thank you, Los. And then our final MJ related book is Amazing Spider-Man 42. Her first full appearance, in my opinion. I know some people say 43, but this is the one that has the iconic Face It Tiger, you hit the jackpot. Love this book. Glad it's in my collection. All right. Moving on from MJ, we're going to move into a little bit of Gwen to wrap up my Spider-related books that are in my top 50. First up, we have Spider-Gwen number 4, first appearance of Gwenom. So just a cool book, and actually the first slab I ever bought. I really enjoyed this run. It was one of the first things I read when I got back into comics. So happy to have that book. I think the second slab I ever purchased was this one. Second or third, I don't remember now, but this is Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, first appearance of Gwen Stacy as Spider-Woman. Another book, just super happy that I got it when I did, because this book has jumped a ton. Next, we have one of my most recent acquisitions. We have Amazing Spider-Man 121, The Death of Gwen Stacy. Yeah, just an iconic Spider-Man book. So we got it included in the list. And then we have ASM 61, which is Gwen's first appearance on a cover. Not quite as good a cover as that MJ cover for Gwen, because she's kind of small, but she's not actually on very many covers before 121, which is surprising how few covers she actually made. But glad to have this one in my collection. I actually have 2 copies of this. One was an AOK from Jimmy the Geek Aficionado, and one was an AOK from Dollar Bin Fodder. So thank you both for that. And then finally, ASM 31, the first appearance of Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn. So that wraps up my Spider-related books. Next up, we're going to shift over to a little bit of Batman. For Batman, we're going to start with the only place on my list where I kind of cheat. I put those 2 silk covers separately. In this case, I'm going to use one spot for both of these books. We have Batman 497, The Breaking of the Bat. Not worth a whole lot. Glad to have this in 9.8 though. This is like my childhood. This storyline, I just remember, is the first real storyline I really remember reading and enjoying a Batman. And the double up on this one for one spot on the list is I also have a copy of the newsstand. Not quite a 9.8 quality, but a really nice copy that I think I picked up for $1. So super happy to have both of those in my collection. Next, we have Batman 608. Just a classic Jim Lee cover. Maybe my favorite Batman cover is close. Just love having this book in my collection. Just an awesome, the second print. Just a great book. Next, we have a couple of books that I picked up in a contest win from Mr. Miracle. These are super low grade, but I am just super happy to have them. We got Batman 155. The first appearance of the Penguin in the Silver Age. And despite being low grade, I just love the color on this cover. The color really pops. Hopefully it does on the video. But yeah, just a fantastic book. And then next we have Batman 189. First appearance in the Silver Age of the Scarecrow. So just another amazing book. Like I said, these are super low grade, but just happy to have them so much. So with that, we're going to kind of sidestep away from Batman a little bit. My favorite character is Dick Grayson, and so we're gonna, and he is known not just for being part of the Batverse, but also as part of the Teen Titans, and I have some Teen Titans books that I'm going to slide in right here. First up, we have my newest acquisition, DC Comics Presents number 26. First appearance of Raven, Cyborg, Starfire, and the new Teen Titans as a team. Super happy to have this in my collection. Next, we have an AOK from Bear Island Comics, which is New Teen Titans number 1. Signed by George Perez and Marge Wolfman. Thank you so much, Adam. Awesome to have this as part of my collection. Next, we have an AOK from Big Will. We got New Teen Titans number 2, first appearance of Deathstroke. This is a gorgeous copy. CGC hammered me for this cool library stamp, so I'm okay with the fact that the grade is low just because of that library stamp. Probably like an 8590 without that, but that's okay. Super happy to have that as part of my collection. And then finally for Teen Titans, we got Tale of Teen Titans number 44, the first appearance of Dick Grayson as Nightwing. And as you guys know, Nightwing is my favorite character, so this has to be on my list. This would probably be number 1 or 2 if I was actually ranking these books on my overall 50. Maybe this one would be it just because of personal meaning, and this is Nightwing number 1 this is the original book that got me into Nightwing. This is the copy I bought off the rack. Super happy to have it slabbed and graded. I can't believe it's a 96 as many times as I've read this, but awesome book. Next, we're going to move sort of into the Batgirls side of the Batverse. And first up, we have Batgirl number 23, this gorgeous Joshua Middleton cover. I debated on this one. It's actually debatable whether this is my favorite of the Batgirl covers from this Middleton run. But given the value and how much I like it, because it's right there with the others, this is the one that made the list. Just love this Barbara Gordon cover. Next, we have Batgirl 12, the Art Germ, with Stephanie Brown as Batgirl, but just one of probably my favorite Art Germ cover. Although the new one he just did that's kind of a homage to this with Cassandra Cain dressed as Batgirl. It's close. It doesn't necessarily have this value, but I like it a lot too. And speaking of Cassandra Cain, she is our next book on our list, and that is Batman 567, the first appearance of Cassandra Cain. An underrated Bat character, in my opinion. One I wish they would use a little more. So, and then finally, probably the number 1 book. If it's not those 2 Nightwing books, it's this one, and that is Detective Comics 359, the first appearance of Barbara Gordon. Her and Dick Grayson are my favorite characters. Super happy to have both of them. The first Nightwing, because I can't afford the first, I'm moving some books around. First Nightwing and the first Batgirl Barbara Gordon. Awesome books that I'm so glad to have in my collection. All right, last kind of grouping we're going to talk about, still within the Bat family, and we're just going to call this the Gotham City Sirens grouping. I've kind of saved these for last because really some of my most valuable books are in this stack. At least I think my 2 most valuable books are in this portion of the stack. This is not that, but just love this team book, love this cover. This book needs to get cracked, cleaned, and pressed. I think we could bump it, but awesome book that I'm happy to have in my collection. I have one side book that maybe doesn't technically count as the Sirens, and you guys might mock me for this, but given what it's worth, I kind of had to put it in the list. It was high enough up the list. And this is Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen number 3, first appearance of Punchline. I know there's a lot of hate for this character, but I have a feeling she's here to stay. So I think there's also a lot of love for the character, so we'll see. But next we have Catwoman number 51. Just a gorgeous Adam Hughes Catwoman cover. No way around that. Almost to the end. I think we got, 5 or 6 books left. 5 books, I think. And we have Lois Lane, Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 70, first appearance of Catwoman in the Silver Age. This was an A-OK from Matt, the boy who had 7. Thank you so much, Matt. We got this. We cracked. He bought it. I cracked it, sent it to DS Comics, cracked, clean, press, resubmitted, bumped it from a 6.5 to a 7.5. So happy to have this in my collection. Thank you so much, Matt. Matt actually bought it, telling me to do that. So there you go. And then my last Catwoman book, we have Batman number 42. Her first appearance on the cover of Batman. Only her second cover appearance, period. Just super happy. 1.8, don't care. Super happy to have this in my collection. Just a fantastic book. 3 books left, and they're all related to the other 2 members of the Sirens. First, we have Batman Harley Quinn, her first appearance in DC continuity. This is one I picked up off the rack back in the 90s, and somehow still got a 9.8. Super happy about that. Just a gorgeous book. Glad to have it slabbed in my collection. We got her first appearance, which is Batman Adventures 12. Another book I grabbed right after the Birds of Prey movie came out. This book kind of started dropping in price. I was able to grab it during that period. Since then, it has taken off in price. So, super happy to have jumped on this one when I did. Just an awesome book. And then the last book of my top 50 is another amazing A-OK. This one from my friend Comic Books NYC, Cobby. Thank you, as always. And I think currently we're going to go collect the most valuable book in my collection. This book has taken off. And that is Batman 181, the first appearance of Poison Ivy. So that is my 50. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.